Shalom Israel, Shalom, Shalom. Brother Naquam, watchman for Israel, coming back at you with these precepts. And another Monday Night Fire, giving, of course, all honor and all glory to Yahweh, Bahashima Mashiach, Wamalaki Bashai. Double honors to the elect elders of the house of David, that's been in this truth for decades and decades, patiently waiting for the second coming of Mashiach, Wamalaki Bashai. A hearty, mighty shalom to all of the mighty men of the Most High God who are out there in the highways and byways, pushing this truth, magnifying the ministry, presenting their bodies as a living sacrifice, and enduring all things for the elect's sake. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the men that may not be out there in the highways and byways as of yet, but they're working on it. They're getting built up in the spirit. They're praying, they're fasting, they're studying, they're being diligent and abounding in the work of the Lord. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the Aquath out there, the sincere sisters out there, holding it down in the households, moving in the spirit of our righteous foremothers. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to the ancient men, the children, the elected visitors scattered abroad throughout the four corners of the earth. And shalom to everybody tuning in live on another beautiful Monday Night Fire. Most High willing, T. Sellers, WFI St. Louis, Shalom Kings, D-Vash Branch, Caleb, Benjamin Youngwolf, Shalom King, Joshua Brewer, Shalom, Brother Ezra, Shalom, WFI Memphis, Shalom, HBK Int, Nigel Blends, right? Shalom to everybody tuning in. And again, that will tune in, Lord willing, right? Monday Night Fire, hidden parables of Jacob and Esau. So we've been going through these parables through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashmi Shai, covering every parable through the spirit that we can, as the spirit gives us utterance from the parables that Yahweh Shai, he himself went into within the Gospels, to the parables that you read about in the Old Testament and the Torah. We went into Numbers with Baalim and the parables that he spoke concerning Israel, the nations, their judgment, and the end of the world, and picking back up with the hidden parables of Jacob and Esau. Now, again, it's not going to say this is the hidden parable of Jacob and Esau, right? You're not going to see that written plainly in the text. If you're looking for a subtitle, in your Bible, you're looking for a particular chapter in your Bible, and you're looking for where it's hidden parables of Jacob and Esau, it's not going to pop up on there, right? Remember, the Most High, he deals with secrets, right? He deals with dark sayings. So there are certain chapters, that are completely allegorical, right? And you have to have the wisdom and understanding in the light of Yahweh Bashmi Shai to see these matters, right? This Proverbs chapter 3 and 32. For the forward is abomination to the Lord, Salakia, but his secret is with the righteous. So when you're forward, it means what? You're contrary to the will of the Most High. Your thoughts are contrary, right? Your speech is contrary. Your steps are swift to mischief and folly. A forward man is an abomination to the Most High. But his secret, and there are secrets in the Bible. It is not, although the Bible is publicly out there for the people, for anybody, but the secrets in the Bible, they are not for everybody, right? These things are only for who? For the prophets, for the apostles, for the servants of Yahweh, Ba'ashima Mashiach Malak Yabushai, right? So again, these are secrets that you read about in the Bible. Now, when you go to Job, and I'm going to get right into it, Job, the 29th chapter, it reads, moreover, Job continued his parable and said. So when you read Job 29, it is a parable. When you read Job, the 30th chapter, it is a parable. And there are other parables that are in certain chapters. There are parables in Isaiah. There's parables in Ezekiel. Don't think that Yahweh Shai was the only one that spoke in parables. The Most High deals with parables, man. He deals with riddles. Like they scolded Ezekiel. He said, Lord, that do they not say that he speaketh in riddles, right? Right? This is Ezekiel chapter 17 and verse 2. Son of man, put forth a riddle and speak a parable unto the house of Israel. Now, the Most High, he deals with riddles, man. When you read the book of Daniel, the 5th chapter, there was a riddle given to the king, Belshazzar. And the writing was on the wall. And it said, many, many tiki upharsin, paraphrasing. And that was a riddle that only Daniel can expound and break down, man. And what that interpretation was only given to Daniel, that he may tell the king that your kingdom has been found wanting, meaning lacking righteousness and judgment and truth, and given to the hand of the Medes and the Persians, man. That was a riddle, man. So everything's not going to be black and white. Right, let's go to the let me slack here. Yeah, let's go to the book of Daniel, the second chapter, very quickly. Then I want to dive right into it. This is Daniel chapter 2, and I'm gonna start at verse 21. I'll start at 20. Daniel 2 and 20. This is Daniel after he received the vision concerning the dream that Nebuchadnezzar had. Him and his companions, Hananiah, Azariah, Mishael, they prayed to the Most High. And in the night, the Most High revealed these visions unto Daniel. I'm actually start at verse 19. Then was the secret revealed unto Daniel in a night vision. Then Daniel blessed the God of heaven. And you may be reading, and then you may not understand something, but the Most High, he can come to you and at the night, huh? And give you secrets while you're asleep. He can send an angel to you, huh? While you're dreaming, and the angel, he's breaking the scriptures down to you. Or he can send a prophet to you in your dream. You can have a dream that Elijah came to you and he started breaking the scriptures down to you, man. Or Daniel start breaking down hidden mysteries, man. Or Yahweh Ba'ashmi Shai can just give you a vision and give you the proper understanding, right? And this happened to Daniel. So, let's read on. Daniel 2 and 20. Daniel answered and said, blessed be the name of the Most High forever and ever. For wisdom and might are his. And any wisdom, strength, and power that man has, it was given to him by Yahweh Ba'ashmi Shai, right? The Most High said that there's an inspiration in man that's given to him from the Almighty in the book of Job, the 32nd chapter, right? So the Most High inspires man and gives man understanding by breathing breath into him. That's what the word inspiration means. When you inspire somebody, it literally means that you're breathing breath into them, life into them. So the Most High inspires the dead by giving them wisdom and might. Verse 21. And he changeth the times and the seasons. He removeth kings and setteth up kings. He giveth wisdom unto the wise and knowledge to them that know understanding. He revealeth deep and secret things. He knoweth what is in the darkness, and the light dwelleth with him. So if there's any wisdom that a brother has or anybody has, you didn't acquire it on your own, huh? You know, any knowledge, any breakdowns, anything that puffs you up, it was given to you by Yahweh Ba'ashmi Shai, and not you of your own, huh? So we're going into this in Job, the 29th chapter. When you read Job 29, it is a parable about Israel, right? And when you read Job 30, it is a parable about Esau. And it both of these are parabolic chapters that deal with the former estate of both of these sons, both of these men. So yes, you can read about Jacob and Esau in Genesis, the 25th chapter. You can read about them in the 26th chapter. You can read about them in the 27th chapter, man, concerning the blessings. But then you can also read about them in the book of Job. Job heavily speaks about Esau. When you read Job, the 30th chapter, 21st chapter, the 20th chapter, the 24th chapter, the 18th chapter, the 14th chapter, the 8th chapter, right? There are many chapters that speak about the so-called white man. And then there are many chapters that speak about Jacob, huh? That's why, let me get this one more real quick before I go into it. That's why you have to have the eye salve to see it, because a lot of people, you're waiting for the text to say, hey, this is talking about Jacob, or this is talking about Esau. It doesn't work like that, huh? Right? There's not a great big flashing light that says, hey, this is about Jacob. No, you have to have discernment, and you have to read. And as you read, you're going to see similar chapters and similar verses that speak about the same individual. You know, this is Revelation 3 and 18. I counsel thee to buy of me gold tried in the fire, that thou mayest be rich, and white raiment, that thou mayest be clothed, and that the shame of thy nakedness do not appear. And anoint thine eyes with eye salve, that thou mayest see. So you have to anoint your eyes with eye salve. What does that mean? It means that your mind has to be anointed with the Holy Spirit. It doesn't mean a carnal person would think this, and well, I got to go buy a white garment. I got to go buy gold tried in the fire. right? So I could clothe myself and not be literally naked. No, man. Right? The Most High said, anoint your eyes that you may see with the eye salve. And the eye salve is really going into the Holy Spirit, right? Let's pull that word up real quick, right? Let's go into this word eye salve. Now, the word in the Greek, make sure the screen is shown. Okay, kind of. The word in the Greek is kolorion, right? And it means a preparation composed of various materials and used as a remedy for tender eyelids. So if your eyes are tender, that means in this context that you're not able to see clear, right? You may see dark spots and you might be kind of blind or your vision might be blurry. So the Most High gives you the Holy Spirit that your eyes can be clear and you can clearly see what's written in the scriptures. So going into Job 29, right? Job chapter 29 and 1. It reads, moreover, Job continued his parable and said, oh, that I were as in months past, as in the days when the Most High preserved me, when his candle shined upon my head, and when by his light I walked through darkness. Now, although this is Job making a reference about himself on one level prior to his affliction, so he is on one level speaking about the scriptures in terms of how he lived prior to his children being killed, how he lived prior to his wife turning against him, how he lived prior to his health being afflicted, and his resources and wealth being robbed. On one level, yes, that's what he's talking about. But what does it say in Job chapter 11 and 6? Right? Let's go to that. In Job chapter 11 and 6. Yes, that's what he's saying on one level, but here's what's written. Job chapter 11 and 6. And that he would show thee the secrets of wisdom, that they are double to that which is. Know therefore that the Most High exacteth of thee less than thine iniquity deserveth. And the point we really want to touch on is that the secrets of wisdom are double to that which is. That's what a similitude is. A similitude is something that's double, right? It's comparing one thing to another thing. You have one context, and then you have an underlying context, the hidden meaning behind that. So don't read this on a surface level. You got to peel back that onion, for lack of better terms, and know that Job, yes, he's talking about himself, but parabolically, this is a parable about Jacob and the Israelites prior to slavery, right? Prior to the transatlantic slave trade, prior to the sub-Saharan slave trade, prior to the Silk Road slave trade, prior to 70 AD, right? Prior to the captivities. That's what he's speaking about. That's this reference, this in months past. It's not 3 months ago, 5 months ago. This is actually, as we read this in the year so-called 2024 AD, this is well over 2,500 years ago. That's the months past. It's really equivalent to over 2,500 years ago. 2,000 years ago, around the time of Yahushua, 500 years before that, roughly around the time of Ezra, and a little bit before that, prior to the Babylonian captivity. So it's a little over 2,500 years ago, before the Jews were taken down by the Babylonians. And Northern Kingdom also being taken down. So it's prior to the captivity. Those are the days when the Most High preserved us. Those are the days before the Most High sent the Assyrians against us. Those are the days before the Most High sent Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylonians against us, man. These are the days when the Most High preserved us, man. Let's go back in the ancient world, man. Let's go into the time of months past. What is that actually talking about? Let's go to actually I want First Kings, right? Slaki. Let's go to First Kings, the 4th chapter, right? Let's go into months past. First, let's talk about, we're going to go into Solomon's kingdom, right? We're going into Solomon's kingdom. This is First Kings chapter 4 and verse 20. This is the chief estate of Israel during the time of King Solomon. So if you wanted to find within those months past, the chiefest estate of us and how we lived, it was during the time of Solomon, because Solomon's kingdom was really a figure of Yahushua's kingdom that would be in the world to come. His wisdom, his honor, his fame, how all nations submitted to him, how there was peace amongst Israel. That is a figure of how we're going to live, most high willing, if we're part of that number, how we're going to live in the world to come, right? So this is First Kings chapter 4 and 20. This is the months past, right? The months past is the time prior to slavery and captivity from the other nations, right? The chief month is the time of King Solomon. These are the days when the Most High preserved us, because there was no war during these days, right? Let's read that. This is First Kings chapter 4 and 20. Judah and Israel were many, as the sand which is by the sea in multitude, eating and drinking and making merry. So we didn't have to worry about the Philistines. There was no worry about the Amorites. Remember when David came into power, David's entire kingdom, he was fighting. You know, David's entire kingdom, he was fighting against the Philistines. He was fighting against the Ammonites. He was fighting against the Jebusites. He had to retake Jerusalem. When King Saul was still a king, they didn't even conquer Jerusalem yet. So David had to come up and capture it and seize it and name it the city of David. Really, Joab Joab did it, but he did it by the hand of David. So David's kingdom, he was still full of wars. You know, he couldn't even build the temple. Why? Because he shed too much blood, right? He shed too much blood. Now, I actually want to pull up Solomon's kingdom, right? Let's pull up King David and Solomon's kingdom and see if we can get a map on that, right? Let's actually pull that up. And you'll be able to see how, and really we should pull up Saul, because we'll be able to see how King Saul's kingdom expanded during the time of his rule, and then from David's rule all the way to King Solomon's rule. Right? So let's pull this up. So this is the United Kingdom of Israel. This is around the time of Saul and David. Now, really, these are the territories, right? But really, when you go, let's get a better map, right? Now, here's a better map, right? Because this actually shows, it gives you a legend. This is your map legend with the red, orange, and the green. Now it says everything in the red is the territory of Israel before David became king, right? Because remember, during this time, and this is why it's very important to read the history. It's very important to read the book of Judges. You know, prior to that, read the book of Ruth, Joshua, you know, read in Deuteronomy. You have to go back and read that you can understand certain chapters and certain parables. You have to read that history. You have to read how during the time of the Judges, you still had the Philistines fighting against Judah for 5 major cities: Gaza, Ashkelon, Ekron, etc. Huh? They were still fighting for these cities, Gath. So Judah didn't even have all their land. Dan didn't get their land. Huh? You had wars going on during this time. So that's why in the red, that's the territory that David had. And then in the orange, Saul had. And then when David became king, he expanded the kingdom. So this is area conquered by David and inherited by Solomon. So don't think when Joshua took them in the promised land, they just had all of the land and they all rested, and it was no. They still were able to, they still have to fight these Canaanites, man. And a lot of the tribes didn't even do it. And because they had chariots of iron, you know, they had superior weapons and technology. So David ended up cutting them down. Let's read on. And it reads, area under strong economic influence of Solomon. And when you look on this gold or this yellow, you see Solomon pushed his kingdom farther and farther north. Right? So when Solomon was on the scene, by the works of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, he was able to put Israel at rest completely. Really, his father did it, but in his days, there was peace. Right? And that's actually part of the prophecy concerning Solomon that you read about in the book of Psalm 72. Now, Psalm 72 is another twofold prophecy. On one level, it's talking about Solomon, But on a deeper level, it's speaking about Yahushua, right? This is Psalms chapter 72. And I want to jump down to verse, let's start at 10. The kings of Tarshish and of the isles shall bring presents. The kings of Sheba and Seba shall offer gifts. Now, this is going to happen to Yahushua, but Solomon, he received gifts as well. Yea, all kings shall fall down before him, all nations shall serve him. So there are certain chapters or verses in this chapter that apply both to Solomon and Yahushua. The kings bowing down to him. You understand? All of the nations bringing him gifts. These are the days of Job chapter 29 and verse 2, when everybody bowed down to King Solomon and Israel was merry as the sand, which is by the sea in multitude, eating and drinking and making merry. Right, let's read on to 1 Kings chapter 4 and 21. And Solomon reigned over all kingdoms, from the river unto the land of the Philistines, and unto the border of Egypt. They brought presents and served Solomon all the days of his life. You see that? So Job is speaking about Israel being at their high estate, their highest estate. Now, you had different times when Israel did well, all throughout history. Middle Ages, the Dark Ages, we ruled Europe and things of that nature. But there was no chiefer time than when Solomon ruled, because we were in our own land under the law, statutes, and the commandments, right? 1 Kings 4 and 22. And Solomon's provision for one day was 30 measures of fine flour and 80 measures of meal, 10 fat oxen, 20 oxen out of the pastures, and 100 sheep, beside harts and roebucks and fallow deer and fatted fowl. For he had dominion over all the region on this side the river, from Tephsah even unto Azah, over all the kings on this side river, and he had peace on all sides round about him. So when you look at that map again, King Solomon didn't have to worry about war. His name is rooted in the name Shalom, which means peace. All right. These are the days again for the third time of Job 29 and verse 2. It's not just talking about Job before he got the boils, or Job before his wealth was taken away from him. He's actually taking you back in time, right? Where Israel had peace on all sides, right? Verse 25. And Judah and Israel, northern kingdom and southern kingdom, right, dwelt safely, every man under his vine and under his fig tree, from Dan even to Beersheba, all the days of Solomon, right? So you can read more about Solomon's kingdom, the temple that was built, the peace that he had. All of these days were days of joy and mirth for Israel. And there were no other days like that, huh? So let's go back to Job chapter 29, right? Let's go back to Job, the 29th chapter. Job chapter 29 and verse 2. Oh, that I were as in months past, as in the days when the Most High preserved me. And the Most High preserves you based off of what? Your obedience. And the Most High destroys you based off of your sins. He sent the nations against you. He sent the Babylonians. He sent the Assyrians. He sent the Medes. He sent the Greeks. He sent the Romans. The Lord said in Habakkuk, let me get this real quick. This is what I want. Habakkuk, the first chapter. Right? This is Habakkuk chapter 1 and verse. We'll start at, let's see where we want to start. Habakkuk chapter 1 and 6. It reads, for lo, I, meaning the Most High, I raise up the Chaldeans, that bitter and hasty nation, which shall march through the breadth of the land to possess the dwelling places that are not theirs. So who raises up these nations? The Most High. right? When you break the commandments, when you sin against your maker. Verse 7, they are terrible and dreadful. Their judgment and their dignity shall proceed of themselves. Their horses are swifter than the leopards and are more fierce than the evening wolves, and their horsemen shall spread themselves, and their horsemen shall come from far. They shall fly as the eagle that hasteth to eat. Right? So, there are countless precepts we can go to about how the Most High sends these nations against Israel. Right? That's Deuteronomy 28 and 49. That the Lord will send a nation against us from the ends of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth. A nation whose tongue thou cannot understand. So let's read on in Job 29 and 3. When his candle shined upon my head, when by his light I walked through darkness, as I was in the days of my youth, when the secret of the Most High was upon my tabernacle. So when it says, when his candle shined upon my head, it means the laws of the Most High were enforced in Jerusalem, right? It's speaking about the law, statutes, and the commandments were enforced in Jerusalem during the time of our kings, chiefly during the time of Solomon, right? This is speaking about us and our glory, us and our former estate, us before we fell. And the Lord said in Psalms, let's get that in Psalms chapter 82. Right? Psalms chapter 82 and verse 6. I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High, but ye shall die like men and fall like one of the princes. So at one time we were gods. The candle of the Most High, meaning the light, the wisdom, is shined upon our head, meaning wherever we walked, we were able to avoid snares, ditches, traps, gross darkness, and we were leading a path of righteousness to Yahweh Bashmi Yahushai, man. There was a time we were judges in the land, gods in the earth, man. Now all of us, we die like men. And you got men that die of damn disease, you get hit by a bullet, man. You die, you die in a car accident. That's how mortal men die. We die the death of the uncircumcised, right? The death of the nations, man. There's no glory in our death. Abraham was 175 years old, man, when he gave up the ghost. Adam was 930 when he gave up the ghost. Methuselah, 969. Noah had his first son over the year 500, man. There was a time when we lived hundreds and hundreds of years. And now look at us, man. You can't make it past the age of 23 without ending up on somebody's damn t-shirt. Right? So we fell from our high estate. And this candle that it's talking about what? The law, statutes, and the commandments, the wisdom of the Most High, the faith in Yahweh, Bashmi Yahushai. Let's get that precept dealing with the candle. Let's go to Proverbs. Actually, let's go to Psalms first. Let's go to Psalms chapter 18. Right? This is Psalms chapter 18 and 28. For thou wilt light my candle, Yahweh my God will enlighten my darkness. So if the Lord lights your candle, he's giving you the Holy Spirit. He's giving you fire, because the word is fire. Right? That's in Jeremiah the 5th chapter. That he would make his words fire and his people would, and it would devour them. So if the Lord lights a candle, he's lighting a fire on you. And fire does many things, man. Fire is a purifier, right? Fire brings luminance and allows man to see. Fire kills bacteria and wickedness, man. Fire gives warmth, which also gives light. So that when the Most High lights your candle, he does all of these things, man. Takes you out of darkness, which is confusion, and brings you into the truth. Right? And the Lord has lit all of our candles, man. Let's go to the book of Proverbs. Right? I believe I want chapter 20. Right? This is Proverbs chapter 20 and verse 27. The spirit of man is the candle of Yahweh, Bashmi Yahushai, searching all the inward parts of the belly. That's why precept must be upon precept. because now you're understanding what the candle is. It's really the spirit of man, you know? And once the Most High could blow your candle out, meaning take the Holy Spirit away from you, or he can give you more fire and put you in a spirit. So the spirit of man is the candle of the Lord. If the Lord lights your candles, give you the fire, the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to your spirit. Let's get one more dealing with the candle. Let's get the classic in Matthew, the 5th chapter, right in verse 14. Matthew chapter 5 and verse 14. Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. So this is the Lord talking about what he does to man. The Most High, he's the one that lights our candle. He doesn't want us to take our light and hide it. He doesn't want you to take your light and sit on it. The gifts and the wisdom and knowledge of the Most High should be publicly seen to your people that they may come into that light. Right? That's why verse 16 says, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. And what light are you letting shine? The candle that is not put under a bushel. Right? So the candle that shined upon your head is the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding from Yahweh Hashem Shah. These are the laws and the commandments that are being enforced in Jerusalem. Verse 4, Job 29:4. As I was in the days of my youth, when the secret of the Most High was upon my tabernacle. So again, it's dealing about the time of when we had the tabernacle, when we had the temple, when we were set up as a people. When the Almighty were yet with me, when my children were about me. And really, on one level, you read about Jerusalem and her children, right? So again, when you go to the book of Baruch, let's go to Baruch, the 4th chapter, right? So the children being round about are the Israelites being in the land. This is Baruch chapter 4. I mean, this whole thing is good, man. Right? Baruch chapter 4, I'll start at verse 9. For when she, meaning Jerusalem, your mother, for when she saw the wrath of the Most High coming upon you, she said, hearken, O ye that dwell about Zion, the Most High hath brought upon me great mourning. For I saw the captivity of my sons and daughters, which the everlasting brought upon them. So Job 29 is before the captivity. That's what Job 29 says, when the Almighty was yet with me, when my children were about me, when the Israelites were in the land, were in Jerusalem. That's what 1 Kings 4 is a beautiful account to link up with that. During the time of Baruch, what time period is Baruch? The 6th century, man. You had the siege in 586 BC, right? And then you had Baruch having this epistle read before the children of the captivity. So they were slaves by this time, serving 70 years under the Babylonians. Let's go back to that in Baruch, right? Baruch chapter 4 and 10. For I saw the captivity of my sons and daughters, which the everlasting brought upon them. With joy did I nourish them, but sent them away with weeping and mourning. Let no man rejoice over me a widow, and forsaken of many, who for the sins of my children am left desolate, because they departed from the law of God. So that's plain. Job 29 is plainly telling you that this is the time again prior to the captivity. Verse 13 in Baruch chapter 4. For they knew not his statutes, nor walked in the ways of his commandments, nor trod in the paths of discipline in his righteousness. So let's go back to this in Job 29. Job 29 and 5. when the Almighty was yet with me, when my children were about me. So prior to the captivity of the Jews, prior to the captivity of the Israelites, when I washed my steps with butter, and the rock poured me out rivers of oil. And there was a time when we washed our steps with butter, man. There was a time when the rock poured us rivers of oil out. These days don't exist now, man. What does it mean when you wash your steps with butter? It means you walk in truth. What does it mean when the rock pours you out rivers of oil? It means Yahweh Ba'ashmel Shai is giving you the Holy Spirit to perform the will of the covenant. Butter is nothing but enhanced milk. That's how you make butter. If milk are the fundamental principles of knowledge, surely butter is that, but on a higher level. So we wash our steps with butter. We walk in the knowledge of the Most High, right? Doesn't mean you literally wash your steps in your house, you get your steps on your porch, take a stick of butter, and that's what the Christians do, man. Right? They read these verses. That's if they believe in the Old Testament. Then they go buy a stick of butter and they start getting busy, man. The Most High is not dealing with that. He's not dealing with you taking a stick of butter and just start being a creep. Right? Let's go into this, man. Right? The Lord said, I want to get this, right? Through the Spirit. Salakia in Proverbs. Right? The churning of milk bringeth forth butter. Right? Proverbs 30 and 33. Surely the churning of milk bringeth forth butter. See that? And the wringing of the nose bringeth forth blood. So the forcing of wrath bringeth forth strife. So there's a cause and the effect, right? When you force something, when you put strength onto something, you get another result. You could change the entire situation. If you force wrath, hey man, you're going to have strife. You could change the whole setting and change the whole spirit, right? If you wringing your nose, right, you're then pushing your nose and you're breaking your nose, and blood is going to come out. You put force to milk. When you churn milk, you can look it up on your own, right? Churned milk is going to bring forth butter. So you take the milk, which is the knowledge of the Most High, you churn it by adding precepts to it, by adding more understanding to it. That's how you churn your milk. And every brother should know how to churn their milk, man. If you've been in this thing for quite some time, you have to churn your milk because you got to put that butter on your bread, and wash it down with that wine if you got eyesalve to see and ears to hear. So brothers have to churn that milk. All right. And you can look that up. They did that, man. My folks from down south, they would actually break down, hey, look, this is how you churn your milk, and they would kind of go into it, man. It had nothing to do with anything. My so-called great-grandmother was the pastor in a church. And instead of breaking the scriptures down, which she wasn't supposed to do any damn way, she'll be in there, y'all don't know what real butter tastes like. That has nothing to do with anything, man. You can't take the service of the Most High to get on your great-grandkids because you grew up down south. Y'all don't know what real butter tastes like. It has nothing to do with anything, man. That's why we didn't learn anything. Nevertheless, the churning of milk bringeth forth butter. Right? Let's get one more precept dealing with the butter. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 7. Right? Isaiah chapter 7 and verse 14. It reads, therefore, the Lord himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. So this is a prophecy speaking about Yahushua coming on the scene on one level, right? Butter and honey shall he eat, that he may know to refuse the evil and choose the good. So how can butter and honey teach a man to refuse evil and choose good? Where do they sell that butter at, man? Where is that at? It's not actually, there's no actual spiritual butter or literal butter, Salakia, that you could buy, and all of a sudden you know good and evil, man. That'd be a bestseller. That'd be out of stock all the time. Everybody would know about it. So it's not talking about actual butter, because actual butter doesn't do that, but the knowledge of God does. So let's go back to this in Job 29, right? Job 29 and verse 6. When I washed my steps with butter, and the rock poured me out rivers of oil. And really, the rock is Yahweh Shai, right? Let me just get a quick precept on that. He is that rock, right? This is Isaiah chapter 8 and verse 13. Surely the Lord of hosts himself, Slakia, sanctify the Lord of hosts himself, and let him be your fear, and let him be your dread. And he shall be for a sanctuary, but for a stone of stumbling, and for a rock of offense to both the houses of Israel, for a gin and for a snare to the inhabitants of Jerusalem. So the rock that's pouring out oil is Yahweh Shai giving the Holy Spirit, giving the understanding. That's what the oil is, right? Let's get a precept on the oil. So we really got to go into these precepts, man, because they're going to provide the clarity, right? The Lord said, let the Most High be true and every man a liar, right? Proverbs 21 and 20. There is treasure to be desired and oil in the dwelling of the wise, but a foolish man spendeth it up. So you have treasure to be desired, which is knowledge, truth, understanding, your nationality, your heritage, the knowledge of your homeland, the knowledge of the laws, the statutes, right? The will of Yahweh Ba'ashmi Yahushua. That is the treasure to be desired. There is also that dwells amongst the wise. When you see wise men that are walking in integrity and uprightness, surely oil dwells amongst them, because they have all been unctioned and anointed by the Most High God to have the truth embedded in their spirit. A foolish man is going to spin up his oil, man, right? How do you spin up your oil? By not maintaining your integrity. That's how you spin up your oil. Job 29 and 6, one more time. When I washed my steps with butter, and a rock poured me out rivers of oil. And there was a time, huh, when we did wash our steps with butter as a nation. We had judges in the land. We had elders. We had ancient men. We had priests. We had prophets. Verse 7. When I went out to the gate through the city, when I prepared my seat in the street, the young men saw me and hid themselves, and the aged arose and stood up. The princes refrained from talking and laid their hand on their mouth. So these young men, the aged, the princes, are all parabolic, speaking about the other nations. When you in the ancient world were in a seat of authority, when you prepared your seat, meaning you sat in the gate. Not everybody was sitting in the gates. You know, the gates is speaking about the entrances of the city. And that's where the elders sat, the judges of the land. So there was a time when we sat in the gate, when we were the top nation on the earth, when we ruled the lands, man. That's what we read, that all of the nations bowed down to Solomon. They all brought him gifts. They all brought him presents and sacrifices, man. He had 10 fat oxen, fatted calves. He had 12 princes over all of the regions of Israel. You even had the Queen of Sheba that came up, man. And she damn near fainted when she saw Solomon. So Job 29, when you read 7 through 10, it's speaking about Israel being in their glory and the other nations being at a lower state. Right? Let's read on in Job 29 and verse 9. The princes refrained talking and laid their hands on their mouth. The nobles held their peace, and their tongue cleaved to the roof of their mouth. When the ear heard me, then it blessed me. And when the eyes saw me, it gave witness to me. Because I delivered the poor that cried, and the fatherless, and him that had none to help. The blessing of him that was ready to perish came upon me, and I caused the widow's heart to sing for joy. Why? Because you have laws to protect the fatherless. You have laws to protect the poor. You have laws to protect the widow. These are all laws that Israel kept in time past. Delivering the poor is Deuteronomy chapter 15, 7 through 8. Helping the fatherless, the book of Ecclesiasticus, right? The 4th chapter, right? Helping the widow, Deuteronomy, the 14th chapter. And many other chapters help the fatherless and the poor and the widow. So it's going into Israel upholding the law, statutes, and the commandments that the Most High gave them. It's a parable about Jacob in their glory. Job 29 and verse 14. I put on righteousness and it clothed me. My judgment was a robe and a diadem. I was eyes to the blind and feet was I to the lame. I was a father to the poor, and the cause which I knew not, I searched out. And this is the estate we're going to be back in, get back in the kingdom. You know, now Jake, you put on wickedness and it clothes you. You put on folly and it clothes you. You put on whoremongering. Now you wear all these strange garments. Like it tell you in Zephaniah, the 1st chapter, that the Most High is going to punish all such as be clothed in strange apparel. So everybody ain't going to be clothed in righteousness, man. Right? Some people are going to be clothed with shame. Some people are going to be clothed with wickedness. Verse 17. And I break the jaws of the wicked and pluck the spoil out of his teeth. Then I said, I shall die in my nest, and I shall multiply my days, Slakia, as the sand. My root was spread out by the waters, and the dew lay all night upon my branch. Now, what does it mean my root was spread out by the waters, and the dew lay all night upon my branch? It means he was rooted in the word of the Most High. Right? We as a people at one time, chiefly during the time of Solomon, right? We were rooted under the law, statutes, and the commandments. And again, you had other times of glory for Israel, man. During the time of Hezekiah, during the time of Josiah, you know, you had times of glory, but there was never really a time like the time again after David ruled, man, when his son came on the scene. And our root has to be spread out by the waters. That's how trees absorb the nutrients. That's how they maintain their livelihood. That's how they remain alive, man. And not only that, bring forth leaves and bring forth fruit. If you're wondering why you're not bringing forth fruit, if you're wondering why you're stagnant, it's because you're by stagnant waters. And stagnant waters, all they do is breed mosquitoes, dead carcasses, man. A damn swamp. You can't just live like rooted by a swamp, man. A marsh. Stagnant, still mosquito nest waters with flies and disease and ticks and madness, man. Alligators and violence. Your root has to be spread by pure, clean, living waters. Job 29 and 20. My glory was fresh in me, and my bow was renewed in my hand. Unto me men gave ear, and waited, and kept silence at my counsel. After my words they spake not again, and my speech dropped upon them. And they waited for me as for the rain. They opened their mouth wide as for the latter rain. If I laughed on them, they believed it not. In the light of my countenance, they cast not down. I chose out their way and sat chief and dwelt as a king in an army, as one that comforteth the mourners. And this was really on one level, again, this was Job living his life prior to what he went through, man. So Job wasn't just a regular old man. But on a deeper level, what is it going into? It's a parable about Israel at their best estate. When we chose out the way, when we sat chief, when we dwelt as a king, when we were in glory and honor, man. Nobody was there touching when King Solomon was on the scene, man. You know? Solomon had all nations bowing down to him. They actually enslaved the Edomites, man. During the time of Solomon, Solomon had the so-called white man in slavery. Yeah, we said it, man. During the time of Solomon, he had the so-called white man in slavery, straight up and down. So we chose out the so-called white man's way, man. We had the Moabite man put down in the dirt. We had the Ammonite man put down in the dirt, man. We chose out the way, and we was king. We said as a king that had control. What does it say? It's like a king in the army, man. Let me get a quick precept on that. Let's go to the book of 2 Samuel, the 12th chapter, right? Actually, I want 2 Samuel, the 8th chapter, if I'm not mistaken, right? 2 Samuel, the 8th chapter. So this 2 Samuel chapter 8 and verse 1. And after this, it came to pass that David smote the Philistines and subdued them. And David took Methagama out of the hand of the Philistines. And remember, Solomon inherited all of this, man. Prior to this, you had the wars between the Philistines and Judah over those 5 major cities. So we took down the Philistines, and he smote Moab and measured them with a line, casting them down to the ground. Even with 2 lines measured he to put to death. That's cold right there, man. And with 1 full line to keep alive. And so the Moabites became David's servants and brought him gifts. So David had the Chinese man in slavery, man. There was a time when a so-called black man put the Chinese man in slavery. The gooks, the rat eaters, the dog eaters, right? Pull this man up. The Chinese rats. Now, a lot of jigs couldn't believe that there's no way a black man could do that. A so-called black man. They know kung fu. You think David had any problem with these damn Moabites, man? See, a lot of you watching too much Jet Li, man. You watch all of the It Mans, and you're scared of the damn Moabite man. That's all that crafty counsel. Esau let them publish those high movies so you could think that the Chinese man is something, man. Esau said, yeah, let's let them bring their martial arts kung fu movies in. We'll publish them. We'll send them out there. Let the world know, Moab, if you get a piece of the pie too. Everybody's going to think that you're somebody. Hey, look, man. Let a Moabite roll up on me, man. Let a Moabite roll up on any of you brothers, man. You're not going to let a Moabite just walk up and pat your pockets. The Lord is not dealing with this. You think David had any trouble with this, man? Oh, what do I do with this guy? Right? Damn. Genetic defect epicanthophode Moabite, man. That's what they call those things, these epicanthophobes. Right? Which is really a straight up genetic disorder. I believe it's trisomy 23, if I'm not mistaken. So yes, he had the Moabite man in slavery. That's the point. Right? And they was bringing him gifts. 2 Samuel 8 and 3. David smote also Hadadezer, the son of Rahab, king of Zobah, and he went to recover his border at the river Euphrates. So when we pulled up that map that went up to the river Euphrates, David conquered a lot of that, man. And Solomon, he just inherited it. He just took it over. David was on a military campaign. Does not the song go, Saul killed his thousands and David his 10,000s? I'm led to believe David killed over 10 million men in his life, man. And that might be an understatement. You say, well, that's too much. The Most High is not dealing with that. The Most High had David do it, man. David been killing bears since he was a youth, man. Lions and bears and tigers, man. Easy for David. So David ain't nobody you want to mess around with, man. Not the damn Moabite, man. Let's read on 2 Samuel 8 and 4. And David took from him 1,000 chariots and 700 horsemen and 20,000 footmen And David hewed all the chariot horses, but reserved of them 100 chariots. And when the Syrians of Damascus came to succor Hadadezer, king of Zobah, David slew of the Syrians 22,000 men. Then David put garrisons in Syria of Damascus. Let's pull up Damascus on the map to show you how far David was pushing. And the Syrians became servants to David and brought gifts. And Yahweh preserved David whithersoever he went. Then we read about the Lord preserving us in Job 29, the days when the Lord preserved us. Let's go back to that. Right? Jumping back up, Job 29:2. Oh, that I were as in months past, as in the days when the Most High preserved me. So again, Job 29 is the days when the Most High preserved us, chiefly during the time of Solomon, because those are the days after David killed everybody, and Solomon inherited all of the campaigns that David went on. That's what the same thing in Job 29:2, the same scripture, is right here. And 2 Samuel 8:6, and the Lord preserved David whithersoever he went. And David pushed up in Syria of Damascus. So that's not close by. Let's pull up Damascus. Right? Which is the chief capital of the Syrians, right? So you got to go into the geography. So here's the kingdom of Damascus. So David is from Bethlehem, right? King of Jerusalem. And he's all the way out here, pushing towards the river Euphrates and Damascus. So David wasn't playing around, bro. So we're showing how he took down one nation after another. The kingdom of Moab took down the Moabites, took down the Ammonites, took down those Philistines, those 5 city-states, Gaza, Gath, Escalon, Ekron, and Ashdod. Now they only show 3 of them here. They're missing Eshkelon and Gath, but those are the 5 cities. You know, and inherited he had peace with the northern families, the 10 tribes that were allied to the house of David. Right? So David had a beautiful military campaign. So let's go back to this. 2 Samuel 8:7. And David took the shields of gold that were on the servants of Hadadezer and brought them to Jerusalem. And from Betah and from Berothai, cities of Hadadezer, King David took exceeding much brass. Right? So David took all these nations down. Now I'm going to jump down to verse 11. Which also King David did dedicate unto Yahweh with the silver and gold that he had dedicated of all nations which he subdued. Slakia. And of Syria. So we showed you that Syria, where Damascus was, right? And of Moab, and of the children of Ammon, and of the Philistines, and of Amalek, and of the spoil of Hadadezer, son of Rahab, king of Zobah. So David conquered pretty much the known world at that time, because that was the known world to them. They weren't traveling far back out there to where the Japhites were. That was the known world to David. So he was pretty much king of the world, man. King of all lands. And he took off all the crowns off their head, and he took over their kingdoms. 2 Samuel 8:13. And David got him a name when he returned from smiting of the Syrians and the valley of Salt, being 18,000 men. Now here's the point I want. And he put garrisons in Edom. Throughout all Edom put he garrisons. And all they of Edom became David's servants. And Yahweh preserved David. There you go again. Whithersoever he went. You see that? So David enslaved a so-called white man. Yes, a so-called black man. Now, when did David rule the earth, man? A lot of people say, well, Jake, a lot of people say Jake's glory was during the time of the Moors. That was their top glory, the so-called black man. We was Moors. We ruled Europe for 1,000 years. Yeah, we did rule Europe for 1,000 years, but really, when you go into the history, Jake was going off, man. Jake was all into all types of Christianity and Catholicism and Islam and madness, man. So that time period doesn't even come close to comparing to the time that David and Solomon had. When David rolled by, people feared David, man. A lot of people, it was just David and Goliath, the boy David. All throughout Christianity, David is always a little boy. He's never a grown man in Christianity. He's always just a little boy that slew Goliath. Then you move on, then you eat pork. Then they play the loud music. Little boy David. The little shepherd boy. Right? They always take these people, just little baby Jesus. Right? They big up baby Jesus. Right? As if Yahushua wasn't a grown king walking the earth, man. Baby David, the baby Moses in the basket, the little shepherd boy. No, the little shepherd boy enslaved the white race at that time. Let's pull up this word garrison. Now you can get mad about it, man. And does not the scripture say in 1 Kings 11:4 that David's heart was perfect with the Most High? Right? David's heart was perfect with God. And where is the account of Gad the seer or Nathan the prophet getting on David for that, man? Where's those sins at? Oh, David, what hast thou done? Thou was enslaved all of the Edomites, and I told thee not. Right? That's not in there, man. Right? Slakia. Right, bear with me. Slakia, but it reads, here's the word garrison. It reads set over, something place, pillar, prefect, garrison, post. So he pretty much put up a military base there and set up his own men over there to watch over them. Right? That's what it means. Like when a so-called white man travels to different lands and puts a military base there, and he puts his soldiers there, which is a sign that your land has been conquered. If you have a military base from another nation inside of your land, and you're not fighting that, you have been conquered. So the so-called white man has garrisons or his military bases all throughout different nations. David did the same thing. He put Judite military bases throughout all of the lands that he conquered. So in case they tried to rebel, you had men in that to kill them with the edge of the sword. Right? Now, again, you can get emotional if you want to, man, and say, well, I don't like that. Well, that's what Job is going into. Job 29 is a parable about Jacob and how he subdued the world, right? How he subdued the world at that time. 1 Kings chapter 15 and verse 5. I'm going to start at 4. So this links up with Job 29 when the candle of the Most High was upon him. 1 Kings 15 and 4. Nevertheless, for David's sake, did Yahweh his God give a lamp in Jerusalem? Did not we read that in Jeremiah, it's like in Job 29? When his candle shined upon his head, upon my head, and by his light I walk through darkness. Right? So Job 29, 1 Kings 15 and 4, same thing. Nevertheless, for David's sake, did Yahweh his God give him a lamp in Jerusalem to set up his son after him to establish Jerusalem. Because David did that which was right in the eyes of Yahweh, Bashmi Shad, and turned not aside from anything that he commanded him all the days of his life, save only in the manner of Uriah the Hittite. So that's the charge the Most High put on him. See, the Most High imputes sin. You can say, well, hold on. I thought David did this, and David did that, and David did this. Hey, that's you, man. If you want to bring it up on David, that's between you and David, man. But what did the Most High say? The Most High said, save only in the matter of Uriah the Hittite. No, he did. Then he numbered Israel, and then he did this. He didn't correct Adonijah, his son, and then he didn't rebuke Amnon when he defiled and raped Tamar, and you're trying to find all these charges on David, man. And again, that's you. You could do that, man. But the Most High is the judge, man. And what did Yahweh say? He says, save only in the manner of Uriah the Hittite. And guess what? It is what it is, man. Because the Most High, he's the judge, and he imputes unto man what he wants to impute unto man. That's what's written, and it is what it is. You can't get emotional about it. You're trying to think of all of the wickedness that David did, and that has nothing to do with anything anymore, man. Because the Most High says, save only in the manner of Uriah the Hittite. Let's go back to Job chapter 29, right? Job chapter 29, and I'm going to read verse 24 again. If I laughed on them, they believed it not, and the light of my countenance they cast not down. I chose out their way. So when you set a garrison in somebody's land, you choose out their way. They can't do what they want to do, man. When you have princes ruling over all these territories, you tell them what crops have to be brought to the king for tribute. You tell them how much cattle and sheep have to be brought back to the king. How many fat oxen, man? You tell them when it's time to sleep. You tell them when it's time to work. You tell them when it's time to cook your food, man. When it's time to chop that tree and draw that water. You choose out the way of the other nations. And there was a time, that's what this parable is about, when we had that glory. When we sat chief, when we could line up the heathen and just cut them down line by line, man. Solomon had an actual temple. He had his own house. One built 7 years, then he had his house 14 years, man. And dwelt as a king in the army, as one that comforteth the mourners. I'm going to get one more about Solomon in 1 Kings, the 3rd chapter, right? This is 1 Kings. I'm going to jump down. Actually, I want 1 Kings. That's a good chapter too, right? We want 1 Kings, the 5th chapter, right? Let's get this. Right, this is 1 Kings chapter 5 and verse, I will start at 13. And King Solomon raised a levy out of all Israel, and the levy was 30,000 men. And he sent them, when you raise a levy, meaning you're putting people in slavery. Solomon put all of the Canaanites and the heathens in slavery. And he sent them to Lebanon, 10,000 a month by courses. A month they were in Lebanon, and 2 months at home, and Adoniram was over the levy, right? And Solomon had 70,000 that bear burdens, 4,000 hewers in the mountains. But the chief of Solomon's officers, which were over the work, 3,300, which ruled over the people that wrought the work. So Solomon, he had a levy out on the Canaanites, but he had Israel working the courses by as well, but chiefly the Canaanites. But you see that thousands of people that he had in captivity, right? Let's go to 1 Kings 9, right? Let's go to 1 Kings, the 9th chapter. Then we have to go to the book of Job, the 30th chapter, right? 1 Kings chapter 9 and 15. And this is the reason of the levy which King Solomon raised, for to build the house of Yahweh, and for his own house, and Milo, and the wall of Jerusalem, and Hazor, and Megiddo, and Gezer. And in the kingdom of heaven, do you think that we're going to build up the wall of Jerusalem? Do you think we're going to build the house of the Lord? Do you think we're going to build our own house? We're not building anything, man. We're going to raise a levy. Really, Yahweh Shah is going to raise the levy, man. And he's going to charge us to enslave these other nations, right? It's like he's going to charge us to enslave these other nations, man. And as we enslave these other nations, the Most High is going to use them, so like you bear with me, the Most High is going to use them to build and build. So like it and build and build till there's nothing else to be built, right? So there's nothing else to be built. So the wall of Jerusalem, so like it, bear with me, I got to get this situated, right? The wall of Jerusalem, our own houses, the houses for our sons and our sons' sons are all going to be built by the other nations, right? That's plain. They're all going to be built by the other nations. So let's go to Job chapter 30, right? Let's go to Job chapter 30. This is Job chapter 30 and verse 1. But now, they that are younger than I have me in derision, whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock. So Job, at one time, he spoke of his glory, right? Israel's glory, and even his own glory on a certain level. Now he's talking about how we fell from that glory, and the people that we once ruled over, they now rule over us. That's 2 Samuel 8 about putting the Edomites in slavery. Now he's talking about the Edomites, it's like you have him in slavery, have Israel in slavery. One was our former estate. Job 30 is about our present estate. Job 30 and 1. Again, but now they that are younger than I have me in derision, whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock. Now, who's younger than us? Esau. Yes, Esau came out first, but spiritually, we are the firstborn of the Most High. Let's go to Exodus chapter 4 and 22. Right? Exodus chapter 4 and verse 22. And thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, thus saith Yahweh, Israel is my son, even my firstborn. So in the spirit, although we are the last nation, we are the first, because the first shall be last and the last shall be first. For many are called, but few are chosen. So if we're the firstborn, everybody else is what? Younger than us. Esau, Moab, Japheth, the Hamitic nations, they are all biblically younger than us. Chiefly the Edomites. The Edomites have us in derision. The same men who have us in derision are the same men that were so vile, so disgusting, so wicked, so nasty and abominable and just outright vile. Job said he didn't even want these men around the dogs of his flock. Now, really, there's nothing. See, in the ancient world, when you put your ancient cap on, when you call somebody a dog, that is the lowest insult that you can give somebody. Yahushua said, cast not thy pearls before swine, and give not that which is holy into the dogs. He called that woman a dog, man. It is not meet to take the children's bread and cast it to dogs. Right? Exodus 11 and 7. Against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue, against man nor beast. That ye may know how that the Most High put a difference between the children between Israel and Egypt, paraphrasing. So if there's nobody worse than a dog, how wicked and vile could the so-called white man be? But Job said, I don't even want them around my dogs. My dogs are more holier than the so-called white man. And dogs are vile, man. I don't have to do an in-depth breakdown on them. And a dog has sex with anything, man, they'll eat anything. They're filthy, man. They'll throw up, they'll sniff it, they'll eat it. They have no laws, no discretion. Esau is worse than a damn dog. I mean, do I really have to do an in-depth breakdown on the so-called white man's abominable behavior? No, man. That goes back to the prophecy. Two manner of people, right? There's two different types of people, man. Man, there's this clip I saw these Edomites. They were talking about washing themselves. And there was these two Edomite women, and they said, yeah, do you use a washcloth? She said, no, why would anybody do that? that's so strange. Are you serious? She said, how does that work? She said, the other one said, I don't know. She said, what do you use to wash yourself? She said, my hand and water. She said, I don't like the way that soap, and it's not the first time the Edomite said that, man. They don't like soap on their skin, man. They don't use washcloths. I mean, we can go on and on. They don't like soap. They popping animals. They cuddle up and lay up with the animals. They catch the disease of the animals. They bring those diseases to other nations. They're the ones that brought the flu, man. They're the ones that brought the common cold. They're the ones that made the cold common. They're the ones that brought chicken pox. They're the ones that brought smallpox. They're the ones that brought tuberculosis, man. Hay fever, red fever, yellow fever, scarlet fever, polio. They're the ones that brought the Black Death on the earth, man. The bubonic plague. And look at the pestilence on the earth now, man. Who's doing that? The so-called white man. So why would you want them around the dogs of your flock? Let's go to Job, just like in Genesis chapter 25. Genesis chapter 25 and 23. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. So we're 2 different types of people, right? Everybody knows that, man. Right? We're a clean people, they're an unclean people. We're a holy people, they are unholy people. They are vile. Man, these Edomites, man, they used to have this show back in the day called Jackass, man. Right? Back in the day, used to come on when I was a kid. And them Edomites, man, you want to see, hey, they was abominable, man. They'll look at damn toilet seat. They'll damn electrocute themselves, man, and they do all types of vile, strange things. If you want to see the highlight of Edomites, watch that, man. Turn on the damn news, man. So let's go on. Let's read on. Before I go on a rant about Esau's just villainy. Job 30 and 2. Yea, whereto might the strength of their hands profit me, and whom old age was perished. So Job he's talking about the old age of the so-called white man. Right? Just like during the time of Job, the 29th chapter, it dealt with a specific time period of Solomon as he inherited the kingdom from David. The old age of the so-called white man is talking about during the time of the dark ages. Right? That's the time period of Job, the 30th chapter. That's the old age. The dark ages were from 476 AD all the way up to the mid 1300s, right? It began chiefly, let's pull this up. I'm spelling this correctly. There's a chief battle called the Battle of Ravenna, right? Now, the Western Roman Empire ruled all the way up until Romulus Augustus around 476 AD. Now, the Battle of Ravenna was a chief battle that marked the end, one of the final sacks of the Germanic tribes, that marked the end of the Western Roman Empire. Once the Western Roman Empire fell, that was the beginning of the Dark Ages or the Middle Ages. When the Western Roman Empire fell, the so-called white man's power was completely 100% taken away from him by the dark nations, right? And other nations, right? His other enemies of the Romans. So it reads, the Battle of Ravenna, capital of the Western Roman Empire, between the Heruli under King Odoacer and the remnants of the Western Roman army and Roman Italy occurred in early September 476 AD, and it represented a culminating event and the ongoing fall of the Western Roman Empire. So this battle really marked the final, it was the final blow. And their last king was Romulus Augustus, right? He was the last ruler of the Western Roman Empire. And when they fell, all eyes honed in on the so-called white man. They saw him finally fall off his throne. Because remember, the Romans ruled really from the time of the Roman Republic during the Macedonian Wars when they fought against Antiochus III, Magnus, Antiochus IV, right? Epiphanes. And they were a powerhouse, man. From around, 753 BC or so, all the way up until 27 BC when they established the Roman Empire. And then they finally fell in 476 AD. That's when the old age that Job is talking about began. From 476 AD all the way up until the Renaissance. Right? So again, let's read this again in Job 30. Job 30 and 2. Yea, whereto might the strength of their hands profit me, and whom old age was perished. So again, that old age is 476 AD all the way up until the Renaissance. Because during the Renaissance, the deadly wound was healed and it came back into power. All right. Now you can also read about this old age beginning in 2nd Esdras. Right. Let's go to 2nd Esdras, the 12th chapter. Right. I'm not going to go deep into 2nd Esdras 12, but I want to touch on a particular point. Right. This is 2nd Esdras. Now, 2nd Esdras deals with the Roman Empire. Right. And it includes Babylon the Great, right? It includes Babylon the Great. It includes the 12 Caesars, right? It's 3 heads, 8 contrary feathers, and then you have the 3 heads at the last and 12 feathers, right? 12 feathers, 3 heads, 8 contrary feathers. The 12 feathers start from Julius Caesar all the way on down to Domitian. Then you have the 3 heads, which are the last 3 Edomite kingdoms that rule, right? But I want to get this in verse 21, right? 2nd Esdras chapter 12. I'm going to start at 20. That in Helm there shall arise 8 kings, whose time shall be but small, and their years swift. So these are not literal 8 kings. These are small kingdoms, right? Within the so-called white man's rulership. When you read Daniel 7 and 17, the kings aren't always talking about literal men. Verse 21. And 2 of them shall perish, the middle time approaching. 4 shall be kept until their end begin to approach, but 2 shall be kept until the end. Now the Lord said 2 of these feathers are going to perish, the middle time approaching. What is the middle time? The middle time are the Middle Ages, the midst of the time that you read about in Wisdom of Solomon, the 7th chapter. That's the middle time. Let's get that precept in the Wisdom of Solomon, the 7th chapter, right? Let's get a precept on that. Because the Bible actually speaks about the dark ages. It speaks explicitly about the dark ages and that middle time. So those 2 feathers that will perish the middle time approaching is from Nerva all the way down to Romulus Augustus. Right? Those are the 2 feathers from Nerva to Romulus Augustus, because when Romulus Augustus fell, that's when the middle time began. Right? The Middle Ages began. Let's actually get that precept in Wisdom of Solomon. Right? Wisdom of Solomon, the 7th chapter. Right? Because Solomon actually saw the midst of the times. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7 and verse 17. Here's Solomon speaking about the knowledge that he obtained from the Most High. Right, Salakia. Wisdom of Solomon 7 and 17. For he hath given me certain knowledge of the things that are, namely to know how the world was made, and the operation of the elements. So he knew about the creation, what the so-called white man called a periodic table, all of that. He knew all of that, right? The beginning, ending, and midst of the times, the alterations of the turning of the sun and the change of seasons. So Solomon knew about the beginning of time, the end of time, and the midst of the times, meaning the middle time. This same midst of the time is the exact same middle time as 2nd Ezra 12 and 21. If you look up the middle time, right? Let's pull up middle time. The middle times are the Middle Ages, right? What are the middle times? The medieval era, often called the Middle Ages or the Dark Ages, began around 476 AD, following a great loss of power throughout Europe by the Roman Emperor. The Middle Ages span roughly 1,000 years, ending between 1400 and 1450. So again, 2nd Ezra 12 said you're going to have rulers of the Roman Empire that are going to rule the middle time approaching. So from Nerva to Romulus Augustus, then the middle time actually began. That's why those are those two feathers, right? That's the midst of the time. Solomon saw the Dark Ages. He saw the fall of the Western Roman Empire. Everything we're reading about in Job, the 30th chapter, Solomon saw that in a vision. He saw the Dark Ages. He saw the so-called white man subjugated, right? This is what you call the medieval time or the midst of the times or the Middle Ages. And they only call it the Dark Ages because the so-called white man wickedly proclaims that he doesn't have a lot of history on that time period. So this devil, and he's a damn devil because he has history in BC times from the Sumerians, right? And the Chaldeans and all these dark nations that ruled. But then 3,000 years into the future or so, 4,000 years plus, he lost. He don't know what happened. You know why he don't know what happened? Because he couldn't control the history. And first of all, he knows what happened. Second of all, he's not going to give an account that the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American man ruled Europe. And third of all, he didn't have control over the records and the archives to boast himself as being a man of power. So that's why he calls it the Dark Ages, as if it's some obscurity and confusion between 476 AD and then 1400 AD. And then right after 1400, oh, now he knows what happened. So Esau's a damn devil, man. Now you know what happened all of a sudden, 1400. Why that year? Why that time? How ironic is that, man? You damn beast. You wicked damn devil. Because that's when the Romans came back into power. Let's go to Revelation, the 20th chapter. So Job 30, right now we're touching on what? The old age. Just like in Job 29, we dealt with the months past. All right, which is really around 1000 BC or 1100 BC to around 930 BC. If you want an exact time period of Job 29, it's around 1100 BC or so, all the way up until 930 BC, because David ruled for 40 years and Solomon ruled for 40 years. So that covers those 80 years. That's that months past. And then the old age, if you want the dates on that, the old age is 476 AD, all the way up until the time of the Renaissance. Now, let's go to Revelation, the 20th chapter, right? Let's go to Revelation chapter 20. This is Revelation chapter 20 and verse 1. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent called, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. So this goes into the so-called white man's rulership being taken away from him for 1,000 years. That's why, again, the Middle Ages lasted what? The Middle Ages span roughly 1,000 years because the so-called white man's rulership was taken away from him. And that's when the old age that Job is talking about kicked off, right? Because again, this is when Jake came into power. Now, we're not going to go too in depth in the Dark Ages, but you had men like Charlemagne, right, who came out. You had the Germanic tribes, right? Then you had the Holy Roman Empire. You had the Moors that came on the scene in Iberia and parts of Spain and Portugal, France, Italy, Corsica, Sicily, right? And there are a lot of books and documents, we can go into, but time would fail us to cover that. But Jake was in power. That's the point. That's why a lot of coat of arms that you see for the Middle Ages were all headed by so-called black men, right? Let's see, coat of arms, black. We'll just say black. See what comes up, right? Yeah, we have to do. Let's just say Moors. We'll say so-called Moors, right? And these are things that you're not going to learn in a so-called white man school system, man. Right? These are things, even as high as you go in his world of academia, you may not learn that, man. You could be in all advanced classes from the time that you're 8 years old to AP classes to a bachelor's to a master's, and this is still going to be hard to find, right? So a lot of older coat of arms and family crest go back to Jakes that have ruled in Europe, right? In Germany, France, Spain, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, Italy, Russia, Slavic nations, Denmark, all of those nations, man, were ruled by the so-called black man. This is another reason why he calls it the Dark Ages, right? See that? And they have books in history on that, man. There's a lot of The Golden Age of the Moor. It's a beautiful book. Nature Knows No Color Line. There's a lot of books that cover that history of the so-called black man ruling Europe for those thousands of years, or that 1,000 years rather. See that? 1404, right? 1862, right? And this is real, man. Nobody made this up. These are real brothers that was in Europe for 1,000 years. Now the question is, and let's pull up the Holy Roman Empire, right? You had brothers that was ruling the Holy Roman Empire, man. Now, after a period of time, you had Edomites that took it over. But prior to that, the Holy Roman Empire was predominantly and chiefly ruled for the majority of its time by the so-called black man, right? That's what they call it, the Holy Roman Empire. You have the pagan Roman Empire. It's the so-called white man's Roman Empire. Then you have the Holy Roman Empire, which was ruled by a holy people, the so-called black man, the Israelites. All right. So let's go back to this in Job 30. So now the question on the table is, okay, well, if the so-called black man, Hispanic and Native American man was ruling during this time, where was Esau? Where were the Edomites at? What were they doing? And where the hell were they? Right? We're going to find out as we read on. Let's read Job chapter 30 and 2 again. Yea, whereto might the strength of their hands profit me, in whom old age was perished? For want and famine they were solitary, fleeing into the wilderness in former time, desolate and waste. And again, like we always say, if you're fleeing, that what the Lord did say, the wicked flee when none pursue it, but that's not the case in Job 30 and 3. There were people pursuing Esau. Who was pursuing Esau? Jake and the dark nations, man. Chasing them out of Europe, man. And what did they chase them to? Out there to the Caucasus Mountains. That's why he calls himself a Caucasian now, right? And we've been going through a lot of maps today. Let's pull up the caucus, Slovakia, right? What do Jake call a Caucasoid? So you got brothers calling the Edomites the Caucasoids, troglodytes, and all these names. He's an Edomite, man. Right? He's an Edomite. So these are the mountains of the southernmost part of Germany and Georgia that the Edomites lived in, between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. Here's where he was pushed to. He was driven forth to dwell in this region. And it wasn't by choice. This is the caveman's beginning. The caveman did not begin in 20,000 BC. I remember they had that movie years ago, man. 10,000 BC, and you had the caveman chasing woolly mammoths. And, Esau wants, again, to separate himself from being a caveman. And one thing about this devil, he just throws numbers out there, man. He throws astronomical numbers out there that nobody can really prove. Because if he says something was, 10,000 years ago, you really can't contend that. It's hard to really gather up a lot of information to prove that. But he's the one that figured out what happened 10,000 years ago. So he throws these large numbers out there like a damn demon, that nobody can really contend. And nobody really question, well, I can't really amass 10,000 years of history. I guess it's true. Right? And we know this damn devil did that because he wanted to separate himself from that history. And he doesn't want you to think that he was in the Caucasus Mountains a short time ago, man. He just got out 600 years ago. Let's say 650, 700 years ago. He just got out, not no 10,000 BC. Let's see, and he was in these mountains, man. Let's see, when did the caveman, we're looking up a lot of stuff, right? When did the caveman, let's see, let's see, when did the caveman come? Look at this madness. And the Paleolithic period, roughly 2.5 million years ago to 10,000 BC. So here he is, man. There is no 2.5 million years ago. You can't even prove that. How do you qualify that? That's something that's 2.5 million years old. So he wants you to believe this, man. Like that was such a long time ago. That was yesterday, Esau. Right? That was yesterday, man. Less than a day ago, if you got ears to hear. This was Esau after the fall of the Western Roman Empire. Now, he doesn't want you to believe that, man. Because you never learned this, man. Now, you brothers have been in this thing, you know this. But, newer brothers, we have to go over these things, man. This wasn't 10,000 BC. This wasn't, 2. It's like a damn 5 million years ago, man. The Lord calls him a forger of lies. Look at this. He was a monkey. Then he was a Cro-Magnon man. Then a Homo neanderthalis, Homo erectus. Then he became the Homo sapien when he obtained wisdom. He discovered fire, right? This when the white man discovered fire. We wouldn't have no fire if it wasn't for the white man. So we all got to go write a love letter to the so-called white man and say, thank you, Esau. Thank you for fire. Right? So this is him, man. Where caveman, I hate this damn devil, man. Where caveman created when Adam and Eve were in the Garden of Eden, man. Look at this, man. Fred Flintstone walking around with a billy club, hitting women upside the head, man. Dragging them by a foot into these caves. Look at this big chart he put together. That has nothing to do with anything. This has nothing to do with anything, man. And people really believe, people study this. Right? Look at this. So he was the guy writing on the walls. Right? That's Esau's handiwork. We were writing on paper. He was writing on the wall. We had books. He was chiseling in stone. Don't let the suit and the tie fool you. Stop looking at the Warren Buffetts, the Bill Gates. Stop looking at the so-called white man like he's anything, man. Let me go to the book of Daniel, right? Let's go to Daniel, the 4th chapter, right? Daniel chapter 4 and verse 17. He just got out yesterday, man. Daniel 4 and 17. This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basis of men. So the Most High, he could give the kingdom to whoever he wanted to give the kingdom to. He gave the kingdom to King Saul, man. You know, he gave it to the Greeks. He gave it to the Romans. What do you think set the so-called white man up to rule? The Most High did, man. He could set up the basis of men, the lowest level men. So let's go back to Job chapter 30. Job 30 and 3. For want and famine, they were solitary, meaning they was left alone, right? Their kingdom was taken away from them. When you want something, you lack. They lacked shelter, right? They lacked land. They lacked the resources, currency, food. They didn't have anything. Once they fell in 476 AD, nobody wanted to deal with them anymore. Nobody wanted to help them up. They were chased out the earth. You know, like I tell you in Job, the 18th chapter. That's what happened in time past, and it's going to happen again. That's when they were solitary. See, America's not solitary because America provides to other nations with wealth, right? But the so-called white man, he himself, in time past, as the Romans, when he fell, nobody was there to uplift him, and he was solitary. Job 18 and verse 18. He shall be driven from light into darkness and chased out of the world. That's going to happen again, but that happened back then. He was chased out of the world. He didn't have no help, man. Nobody wanted to deal with the so-called white man. Right? So he had to flee. He couldn't go to that land and, no, we know you. Y'all were the Romans. Y'all were the ones enslaving and conquering the world. Wherever they went, everybody knew who they was. Let's read on to Job 30 and 4. Who cut up mallows by the bushes and juniper roots for their meat. So they had to try to survive and deal with the grass and the juniper roots, man. And when you look up the juniper roots, right, it keeps man alive if man doesn't have access to the common foods, man. Let's pull up the juniper roots benefits. It's like it. Right? Antioxidant, antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer, blood sugar, blood fat, upset stomach. So they was eating raw meats and things, and they was having all types of damn disorders, man, and health issues. So they had to naturally use the juniper roots to help offset the fact that they were eating worms, brain matter, scraping it out of a skull, cracking open, femurs of wild beasts and eating it, man. So the juniper root was used by Esau to offset a lot of the issues they were having due to not being able to eat the way that they used to eat, man. Because when they were eating as the Romans, they could eat whatever they wanted to eat. They could have fatted oxen, man. Their diet was intact. They could eat grapes at full. They could drink water in abundance, man. So now they had to find these supplements to try to survive because they didn't have what they had when they was out there at Rome. Right? So this is what the juniper roots do, man. Upset stomach, intestinal gas, so flatulence, heartburn, bloating, and you really get it a lot of that when you eat a lot of raw meats and meats. You know, heartburn, bloating, gas, a lot of meats and red meats kind of do that to you. You know, so the Most High put the spirit on them to keep them alive and charged them to eat the juniper root. He put that in their spirit to eat these things, man, because if the Most High didn't put it on Esau's spirit to eat the juniper root, they all would have been extinct, because you can't survive off of how they were living out there. It's biologically impossible, you know, but the Most High kept them alive. He preserved them, that they may be destroyed and that his name might be magnified throughout all the earth, and that prophecies have to be fulfilled. You know, so going back to this in Job chapter 30, this is why they cut up the mallows by the bushes and the juniper roots for their meat. They were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as after a thief. So they were chased out the world and they were pushed out the same way the so-called white man has journeys where he enslaves nations like the Trail of Tears, right? He was on the Trail of Tears, and they trailed him and pushed him out there to the Caucasus Mountains because he was a thief. They knew that, hey, that's the Romans. Those are the men that fell. Verse 6, to dwell in the cliffs of the valleys, in the caves of the earth, and in the rocks. So this lets you know that he's the caveman. And when you look up his modern day cities, they resemble a cave. You know, when you walk in the street and you look up and you see the skyscrapers, those are nothing but his modern day caves, as if you're walking in the middle of a valley and you're on caves on one side and caves on another side, right? That's how he sets up his skyscrapers, his cities, man. It's just with titanium and aluminum and glass and modern day, you know, copper fittings and foundations of concrete, man. But he himself, he loves the caves. He loves the asphalt. We can't stand on that concrete. My back will start hurting, huh? You know, that warehouse kind of concrete on them warehouses, man, if you ever worked in those, your feet are killing you, man. Esau's walking around. Hey, good day. He likes that asphalt, that concrete. It helps him balance himself and, you know, kind of helps him and reminds him of the caves. We're used to grass, sand, you know, soft land, man. Sheep are dwelling in grass, man. You know, dirt roads and sand and grass, and Esau likes hard concrete and magnets. Let's pull up Mount Petra, right? So here's Mount Petra, also a habitation of the so-called white man. And clearly, there's no way getting around it that this style of architecture is something that you see at local universities, at colleges, and government buildings. Here's what Esau created in the caves hundreds of years ago. And if you compare that, let's pull up a Capitol building. Right? Or we can type in a university building or something of that nature. Let's see. You can clearly see that same style. The pillars and that triangle. You compare that to Mount Petra, same thing. The pillars and that triangle. Exact same thing. So that shows that Job 30 is speaking about the so-called white man. He took that same style and used it for his universities. That same style to create his modern day Roman buildings. you know? So this lets you know he was living in Rome, right? This lets you know he was living in Rome. And all his buildings in DC, and really one of the older names of DC is Rome. When you look up that history, man, right? Let's pull that up. Even before Americans, you can look more into this on your own, were collecting antiquities, our founding fathers sought to create the ancient world in America by making Washington, D.C. a quote unquote new Rome on the Potomac. America was frequently referred to as a new Rome from very early in its history. And this is from an actual source, right? Colleges, man. What is this? Badoin.edu. You can look this up on your own. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and others not only adopted systems of government and law from the classical, especially Roman world, they also built the capital city that first echoed ancient Rome, and then later Athens and its architecture, sculpture, and painted interiors. The project began around 1791 with the selection of a site and a Roman-influenced urban plan designed by Pierre Charles L'Enfant. Just as Rome sits on a bend in the Tiber River, Washington, D.C. is nestled in the crux of two rivers, now known as the Anacostia and the Potomac. Interestingly, DC's territory does include a small offshoot of the Potomac that was, as early as 1664, named Tiber Creek. So Rome was off the Tiber. Modern day Rome is off the Tiber, right? And they actually go in depth. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but this is a beautiful article. Antiquity in America's capital, right? You could look more into how DC was actually called Rome. You know, everything about it is Rome, and we know that. We go through the book of Revelation, the 17th chapter, right? We go to Revelation, the 12th chapter. We go through many other chapters that speak about the eighth head that came of the seven. Now, going back into this, the point of bringing this up is that when they dwelt in the caves and in the clefts of the rocks, they kept that Roman architecture with them, not only in America, but out there in Mount Petra. So let's go back to this, right? I believe we wanted Job 30. Job 30 and verse 6, right? It reads, to dwell in the cliffs of the valleys, in the caves of the earth, and in the rocks. Among the bushes they braid, under the nettles they were gathered together. And when you look up the word braid, it means you make an animal-like noise. And I pulled that up before, right? If you pull up, let's pull this up, a donkey braying, right? Here's a clip of an animal braying. These are the sounds that the so-called white man was making out there in the caves. You see that? It's an actual creature, man. Type in any animal brain, chiefly you're going to have that sound and other lewd sounds come up. So that's madness, man. That's absolute madness. Now, this same man used to bray among the bushes, but now he wants to correct you on grammar, right? He's the one that wants to correct you. You're grammatically incorrect. You have ebonics. That's not how that sounds. That's nigga talk. You sound ghetto. You sound hood, but we ain't never sound like that though. Give me the account. Give me history, Mr. White Man. When a so-called black man ever sounded like that, right? Give me the time. Give me the year. You know every damn thing, right? The scriptures say you used to bray. You used to howl at the damn moon. You're the damn werewolf, man. You used to make those sounds. Now you want to get on the so-called black, Hispanic, and Native American, man. That's hood. That's ghetto talk, nigger talk, ebonics, right? Right? Well, guess what, man? We ain't never bray. We ain't never get that low, Mr. White Man. Brand in the damn bushes like a child molester. And the Lord said, under the nettles, they were gathered together. So they was all huddling up under the bushes, brand. They just started learning how to wash themselves, man. This is new. Stop going. Don't go tomorrow to your so-called job and stop being impressed by these devils, man. Stop looking at them and trying to be like them, man. They're nothing. That's what Job 30 is to let you know that the white man is nothing. And how we fell. Huddling around trying to figure out what's going on and how. That's why a lot of these Edomites, they like to dress up. Let me see. There's a thing called furries. So furries are Edomites that like to dress up like animals, man. They marry animals. This is Esau. Only Esau just does he. Look at this. It's a lot of them. It's a lot of them, man, and they're growing. It says new data shows furries are rapidly growing in number. So these are your Edomites, man. Underneath this mask is your supervisor. It's the police that pulled you over last week. It's the doctor that said you had a disease, man. Underneath this mask is the local fire department and the sheriff that pulled you over and called you a nigger. When he goes home, after he puts on his woman's panties and his woman's bra, when she's not looking, he creeps out on his day off, puts on his outfit as a furry, and becomes a vile, wicked demon. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this, man. I can't stand Esau, man. Look at this madness. Where's this at in the scriptures? What did the Most High say? Dress up like a demon dog. Dress up like a damn demon dog. All right, so again, I think the point is made that the so-called white man is a beast. Scriptures call him a beast, man. Right? Let's read on. Job chapter, and there's more things he does, man. He marries animals. He dresses up like the animals. And there's Edomites born with tails. A lot of them are born with tails, man. They might flag this video, right? They might say, you brothers are doing too much, man. We let you talk. We let you teach that you're Israel, but now you're coming at us too much, man. Right? So you heard it here first. Look at this. You Israelites have gone too far. Right? You've gone too far. Where is this at in the scriptures, man? Abraham was born with a it's not in the scriptures. That's why the scriptures say back in Job, they were viler than the earth. Let's get a precept on them being beasts, man. Right? On them being beast. Right? Let's get the classic. Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, right? Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 18. I said in mine heart concerning the estate of the sons of men, that the Most High might manifest them, and that they might see that they themselves are beasts. Now, we know that this is more of a spiritual meaning, because man, without the knowledge of the Most High, without the laws and the statutes and the commandments and integrity and direction and instruction, they're going to live like a beast without a dietary law, without the ceremonial laws, without sacrifice and an atonement. What makes them different than a beast? Nothing, you know. But on another level, you have actual men, right, with traits. Where is this at? Look at this. Right? Oh man. And these are Edomites, man. Right? Never a so-called, where's all of the so-called black men that born with tails, man? Because every picture I went to are other nations, chiefly Esau. They're all Edomites. The Most High did this, man. So these are beasts. These are vile men. Now imagine looking at an Edomite, and he never had his tail cut, and he never had a mock razor or a Gillette razor, and he didn't have a suit and a tie on, man. He'll look like a damn demon. He'll have a tail. He'll be hairy like a wolf. He'll smell vile, filthy, walking in the cave. Because they ain't had no plastic surgery back then. So they was walking around, they were on their knuckles, doing all types of madness, man. These are the people that rule over us now. These are the people that tell you what to do, man. These are the people that think that they're smarter than you, that they're clever, that they can outwit you, man, that they're more powerful than you, they're more intelligent than you, man. Stop fearing and looking at the so-called white man like he's intelligent. Stop looking at them with these higher positions and these jobs and praising them and lauding. You're smarter than them, man. You're wiser than them. You have more faith than them. You have a God, they don't have a God. You have laws from the Most High God that they don't have. You have integrity. You have justice. You have judgment. You have discernment. You have prudence. You have the gifts and the talents from the Creator on high. And they don't have anything, man. So let's go back to this in Job, right? And there's another clip. I'm not going to pull it up, but of this guy went to this journey, and these Edomites, they were still he went on a journey to this spot, and they had Edomites still walking on all fours, right? They were still walking on all fours to this very day. To this very day, they're still walking on all fours. Let's go to Job chapter 24. Let's get a quick precept. Right? This is Job chapter 24 and verse 15. It reads, the eye also of the adulterer waiteth for the twilight, saying, no eye shall see me, and disguiseth his face. So Esau really believed, because he put on a suit and a tie, you know, he has weapons and science on his side. He really believes that nobody's going to find out that he himself is the damn devil. Everything we're bringing out from Job 29 and Job 30, he thought nobody would see that. But Yahweh, he bringeth out the hidden things that are in darkness. One of the first precepts we read was Daniel chapter 2:19 on down. The Lord said in Luke, quick precept, right? In Luke chapter 8 and verse 17, right? This is Luke chapter 8 and verse 17. It reads, for nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad. That's dealing with man's works. That's dealing with history. That's dealing with anthropology. It's dealing with the parables. It's dealing with the breakdowns, the hidden knowledge of God, things that have been reserved and kept secret. And these last days are going to be shown publicly by the Most High God. And they're going to come abroad, and everybody's going to know about it, right? That's why even the disguising of his face of the so-called white man, all of that is being revealed. See, Job 24 is dealing with Esau's deception. And it doesn't say Esau, and it's not going to say Edomites, right? He is the adulterer. He is the hypocrite. He is the dragon, right? Let's go back to this. I'm going to read it again. I'm going to actually jump up to verse 14. Job 24:14. The murderer, rising with the light, killeth the poor and needy, and in the night is as a thief. Who's the murderer? Esau. Who's the poor and needy? The Israelites. He rises up in the night. He creates the night. He puts a veil over all of the nations and gets them drunk off of his philosophies and wine. And he moves as a thief to steal resources and lands and artifacts and cultures and people, and languages to make a nation. Take a little from Rome, a little from Greece, a little from Persia, a little from Babylon, a little from Egypt, a little of my language. I'm going to take a little bit from Italy and Rome. My dress, I'm going to take a little bit from this and take inventions from the Israelites. And I have America. America's nothing but a damn mirage, man. It's a joke. It's a damn joke. Built off of an amalgamation of lies and deception. Verse 15. The eye also of the adulterer waited for the twilight, saying, no eye shall see me, and disguiseth his face. And Esau puts on these identities. White man, that's a disguise. German, Polish, Italian, French, these are disguises, man. Caucasian, that's a disguise. If he's not calling himself an Edomite, it's a disguise. Him not revealing who he really is all a disguise. Him not going back and saying that he's a caveman from 700 plus years ago is a disguise. And the Most High is like every suspense movie, man. Every thriller, right? Every mystery, the person with the mask on, it's always revealed, man. They're usually bound up, tied up, and you pull that mask back, and right now everybody's looking at the so-called white man. They say that's the Edomite right there. There's videos out there. Everybody knows, man. So let's go back to this in Job, the 30th chapter, right? Let's go back to this in Job chapter 30, right? So lucky, bear with me. Right? Job chapter 30. So Job 30 is a beautiful chapter, man. A beautiful chapter, right? Job 29 is a beautiful chapter too that we went into, right? Job chapter 30 and verse 7. Among the bushes they brayed, under the nettles they were gathered together. They were children of fools, yea, children of base men. They were viler than the earth. And you look at that history, man. A lot of these Edomites, they would wear their undergarments till it disintegrated. They were eating flies and ticks and lice out of people's hair and cracking it with their teeth. They tell you that in the book, The 13th Tribe by Arthur Koestler. I believe he went into that. That Amalek out there in the Caucus Mountains would wear their undergarments till it disintegrated. What type of nasty, vile man is that, man? Verse 9. And now am I their song, yea, I am their byword. They abhor me, they flee far from me, and spare not to spit in my face. And really, this is like a cut because, we're talking about how wicked and vile and base the so-called white man is, and Job puts it all into perspective. He said, these same people that we getting on, the Most High is getting on, now we're their song. They rule over us. They get to call us niggers. They get to put their knee on your neck. They get to pull you over. You got to pay mortgages into them and rent unto them and pay bills and expenses. Now you're their joke, man. They used to be a damn joke. They used to be a song. They used to be in slavery. Now the roles have reversed. Now we're their byword. They abhor us. They flee from us, man. You walk down the street, one of them Edomites still cross the street, man. And they'll spit in your face, man. Verse 11. And why it's going to tell you why these things happen. Why do these things happen? Verse 11, because he hath loosed my cord and afflicted me. They have also let loose the bridle before me. So our cord has been loosed. A cord is something that binds two things together, right? And what's the ultimate cord? The ultimate cord is the covenant, because the covenant of Yahweh Bashmi Shai is what binds the sons of God, the Israelites, to their creator, the Most High God. When that covenant is broken, that cord is loosed, and there's no more bind between those two entities or two parties. So now the Most High is away from you, and you are only away. You're away from the Most High. So the bridle was loose, and the cord has been loosed. Verse 12. Upon my right hand rise the youth. They push away my feet. They raise against me the ways of their destruction. They mar my path. They set forward my calamity. They have no helper. And they do mar our path, man. Here we are trying to walk a path for brightness, and they give you weed. They give you crack, dope, pork, liquor, and philosophies and religion and politics, man. So when you mar something, you destroy it. So we're trying to walk a path of truth, and they're destroying that path through philosophies and wine and sin and stumbling stones. Verse 14. They came upon me as a wide breaking in of waters, and desolation they rolled themselves upon me. And this happened during the time of the Romans too, man. Right? This when they came in as a wide breaking in of waters. When you go to Daniel, the 9th chapter, let's go to Daniel, the 9th chapter, quick precept on that. When they came in like the waters and conquered us. Daniel chapter 9 and 26. And after 62 weeks, I believe that goes into 434 years, right? Shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people, it's like in the people of the prince. Who's the people of the prince? The Romans, right? And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. And the end thereof shall be with the flood, and until the end of the war, desolations are determined. And this happened in 70 AD. The Romans came in like a flood. This is how they came and subdued us. And it started as them coming in as a wide breaking in of waters. Right? Verse 15 in Job chapter 30. Terrors are turned upon me. They pursue my soul as the wind, and my welfare passeth away as a cloud. And now my soul is poured out upon me. The days of affliction have taken hold upon me. And you're living in the days of affliction, which are the days of the curses. My bones are pierced in me in the night season, and my sinews have no rest. By the great force of my disease is my garment changed. It bindeth me about as the collar of my coat. He hath cast me into the mire, and I have become like dust and ashes. So that shows we fell from our high estate, and the Most High threw us in the dust, man. Cast us, and now we're niggers, black people, right? We have to work, right? We have to live in their houses, man. We have to live in their land, because the Most High, he cast us away into the mire. See, this dust and ashes is really death, man. When you go to the Psalms, right? Let's go to Psalms chapter 22, right? See the precept on that. This is Psalms chapter 22 and verse 15. My strength is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue cleaveth to my jaws, and thou hast brought me into the dust of death. So who brought us into the dust of death? God, Yahweh, Bashmi Abishai, the Most High. He's the one that took us from Job 29 all the way to Job 30. That's the dust of death, spiritual death, the mire. Verse 20. I cry unto thee, and thou dost not hear me. I stand up, and thou regardest me not. And why don't the Most High hear us? Because our people are going off, man. What does it say in Proverbs 28:9? He that turneth away his ear from the law, even his prayer shall be an abomination. St. John 9:31. Now we know that the Most High heareth not sinners. But if any man be a worshiper of the Most High and doeth his will, him he heareth. So you can't tell me Job 30 is not speaking about Israel being afflicted by the so-called white man. These are the parables of Jacob and Esau in Job 29 and Job 30. And there are other chapters too, but there's nothing that speaks more expressly, in my opinion, than Job 29 and Job 30. But again, you have Job 24, Job 20, Job 21, Job 14, Job 8. You got a lot of chapters that go into the so-called white man and that dynamic between us and them. Job 30 and 21. Thou art become cruel to me. With thy strong hand, thou opposest thyself against me. Thou liftest me up to the wind. Thou causest me to ride upon it, and dissolvest my substance. For I know that thou wilt bring me to death, and to the house appointed for all living. Howbeit he will not stretch out his hand to the grave, though they cry in his destruction. Did not I weep for him that was in trouble? Was not my soul grieved for the poor? When I looked for good, then evil came unto me. And when I waited for light, there came darkness. And tell me it's not the life that we live, man. You look for good, you might finally catch a break, then evil comes to you, man. Family member die, your car break down, you get fired from your job, you save a little bit of money, then you got to spend it on this. And all hell is always breaking loose in your life, man. There's always something going on. You're waiting for light, then darkness comes, man. Now your house is on fire. Now your son is dead, man. Now you got laid off. Now your car broke down. Now your health, now you're sick now out of nowhere. These are the curses that Job is speaking about that we go through. Verse 27. My bowels boiled and rested not. The days of affliction prevented me. I went mourning without the sun. I stood up and cried in the congregation. I am a brother to dragons and a companion to owls. So who's the dragon? The so-called white man. Who's the owls? The other nations. My skin is black upon me, and my bones are burnt with heat. My heart also is turned to mourning, and my organ into the voice of them that weep. So that is Job chapter 29 and Job chapter 30. Let's go to the book of Revelation chapter 22 and verse 12, right? Let's go to the book of Revelation chapter 22 and verse 12. So these are the parables of Jacob and Esau. Every parable is not only found in the Gospels, they're throughout the scriptures. Revelation chapter 22 and 12. And behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me to give every man according as his work shall be. So every brother should be examining himself. Even the sisters in this thing, man, should be examining themselves, seeing what things you need to improve on, meditating upon these things. The Lord said in Proverbs, prepare thy work without and make it fit for thyself in the field, and afterward build thine house. So there should be a plan. There should be an action plan behind that. You should be implementing that plan for everything in your life. That goes to applying these precepts. You examine yourself, see what things you need to work on. You come up with a game plan to get those things worked on. Then you actually do these things, man. You're living in the last days. All hell is breaking loose. Most High willing you are edified. Kwame Yasha. Shalom.